The story begins with the Galactic Senate in full session, the event broadcasted across the galaxy for all to see. Alien dignitaries from different planets are gathered, some with reptilian features, others with glowing eyes or strange limbs, all dressed in their traditional robes of power. Their expressions are smug, and the hall is filled with echoes of laughter and sneers. They are mocking Earth, a small backwater planet that dared to apply for membership in the Galactic Federation. One of the speakers, an alien with a long snout and silvery scales, stands up and loudly asks, "Why would we ever accept a planet whose most advanced fleet is no better than toys?" The Emperor, a towering figure with glowing red eyes and sharp, intimidating features, joins in the laughter. He dismisses Earth's plea with a wave of his hand, calling it insignificant, just a child with sticks trying to play at war. The crowd roars with approval. The camera zooms in on Earth's representatives who are watching this broadcast on their home planet. They sit in a high-tech room, surrounded by screens and holograms, their faces tense but quiet. Some shift uncomfortably, feeling the weight of the humiliation. They can hear the entire galaxy mocking them. In the middle of this group, one man stands out. Earth's top military general, a seasoned warrior with scars from many battles, sits completely still. His eyes are cold, unblinking, as if none of the insults matter. The others glance at him, hoping for some reaction, but he remains calm. Finally, in a low, measured voice, he says, "They'll see soon enough." His words send a chill through the room, but no one dares to question him. What could he possibly mean? The scene shifts as the general leaves the room. He steps outside onto a vast balcony overlooking the city, the night sky glittering with stars. There's a strange tension in the air as he stares up, deep in thought. He takes a small communicator from his pocket and, with a quiet, almost whispered command, says, "Activate the fleet." A moment of silence follows, leaving the audience on edge, their minds racing. What fleet is he talking about? The Galactic Empire had already laughed off Earth's fleet, calling it weak and unimpressive. What does Earth have up its sleeve? This subtle revelation, without giving too much away, creates an air of mystery and anticipation. Something big is about to happen. But what? The audience is left in suspense, hooked, wondering what Earth's next move could be. The general, now a silhouette against the night, looks back at the stars. The galaxy may think Earth is weak, but they're about to learn just how wrong they are. The Galactic Empire was planning a massive show of strength. They had called for one of the largest fleet exercises ever seen, just to remind the rest of the galaxy who ruled the stars. The Emperor wanted to make a point, especially after mocking Earth in front of everyone. The Empire believed they had nothing to fear from humanity, so this display of power was both a celebration and an opportunity to show Earth and other planets how insignificant they were. Hundreds of alien warships assembled in space near a distant star system, their sleek designs bristling with advanced technology. These ships were enormous, capable of planetary bombardments, and equipped with weapons that could wipe out entire fleets. They floated in space like metallic beasts, glinting under the distant stars, their presence a reminder of the Empire's iron grip on the galaxy. The galaxy watched in awe as the fleet maneuvered into formation. It was a sight meant to instill fear and respect. The Empire's ships formed perfect lines, their shields shimmering, and their weapon systems ready for display. The entire event was being broadcasted across multiple systems, and planets far and wide tuned in to witness the Empire's military might. There was no mistaking it. This was a direct message to Earth, a message that said, "We are untouchable." But what the Empire didn't know was that they weren't alone. Unknown to them, hidden among the stars, Earth's own fleet had already arrived. Using cutting-edge stealth technology, their ships were completely invisible to the Empire's sensors. The human fleet had been carefully designed for just this moment. Unlike the Empire's massive and flashy warships, Earth's vessels were sleek, dark, and silent. They'd move like shadows, slipping between the stars, unseen and unheard. Every human ship was cloaked, using technology the Empire didn't even believe Earth could possess. The humans had learned to be discreet, to use their brains instead of brute force. And now their fleet was silently moving into position, surrounding the unsuspecting Empire's grand display. Inside the lead human ship, the tension was thick. The crew sat in silence, their eyes fixed on their screens, monitoring the Empire's movements. This was a dangerous mission, and they all knew it. One wrong move, one glitch in the cloaking system, and the Empire would detect them. If that happened, they would be outnumbered and outgunned. But the crew trusted their captain, a young officer who had already been through more battles than anyone his age should have. His name was Captain Derek, and he had the look of someone who had seen too much. His eyes, sharp and calculating, were filled with a quiet determination. He wasn't just here to win a battle. He was here to settle a personal score. Captain Derek had lost his brother in one of the earlier skirmishes between Earth and the Empire. Years ago, when the Empire first attacked Earth's colonies, they had shown no mercy. Millions of humans had been killed, and Derek's brother had been one of them. The memory still haunted him. He could still see the burning wreckage, still hear the screams of his fellow soldiers, still feel the helplessness of watching his brother's ship go down in flames. That was the day Derek had sworn to himself that he would make the Empire pay. He had thrown himself into military service, rising through the ranks, always with one goal in mind: revenge. And now, after years of preparation, after countless battles, he was finally here, leading Earth's first stealth attack against the very Empire that had taken everything from him. As Derek stood on the bridge of his ship, staring at the enemy's fleet through the view screen, his mind raced. He could see the Empire's warships lined up in perfect rows, their massive guns pointed outward, showing off for the cameras. They had no idea they were being watched. Derek's crew waited for his signal, their hands hovering over the controls, ready to decloak at his command. But the moment had to be perfect. The timing had to be just right. Derek knew they only had one chance to get this right. If they attacked too soon, the Empire might have time to respond. If they waited too long, they might lose their advantage. Every second felt like an eternity. As he waited, Derek couldn't help but think about how humanity had always been underestimated. The Galactic Empire saw them as weak, as primitive. Even now, with their ships surrounding the Empire's fleet, Derek knew the aliens didn't take Earth seriously. But that was exactly why humanity would win. The Empire's arrogance would be its downfall. Derek's thoughts drifted to the millions of lives that had been lost in the wars with the Empire. Families torn apart, planets destroyed, entire civilizations wiped out just because the Empire wanted to expand its territory. Derek had fought in many battles, but none had been as personal as this one. This was more than just another mission. This was for everyone humanity had lost. Derek's thoughts were interrupted by a warning signal on the screen. One of the Empire's patrol ships was passing dangerously close to their position. The crew held their breath as the ship scanned the area. The cloaking technology was strong, but it wasn't perfect. If the patrol ship detected them, they would be exposed, and the Empire's fleet would attack in full force. Derek's hands gripped the armrests of his chair, his muscles tense. He watched as the patrol ship moved closer, its sensors sweeping the area. For a moment, it seemed like the patrol might spot them. The crew braced for the worst. But then, at the last second, the patrol ship veered off course, moving away from their hidden fleet. Derek let out a quiet sigh of relief, but he didn't relax. They were still in danger, and the hardest part of the mission was yet to come. His crew looked to him, waiting for the order. But Derek was a patient man. He knew that in war, patience was often the key to victory. He watched the Empire's fleet for a few more moments, analyzing their movements, waiting for the perfect opening. And then, finally, he saw it. The Empire's ships were beginning their exercise, moving into a new formation. There was a slight gap in their defenses, a small window of opportunity. Derek's eyes narrowed as he made his decision. He turned to his crew and gave the order. "Prepare to decloak," he said calmly. The crew sprang into action, their fingers flying across their consoles as they activated the systems. Slowly, one by one, the human ships began to materialize, their dark, sleek forms emerging from the void of space like ghosts. For a moment, there was silence. The Empire's ships continued their exercise, unaware of the fleet that had just appeared behind them. But then the alarms started to go off. The Empire's sensors had finally detected the human ships, and panic spread through their ranks. Alien voices shouted orders, and the Empire's warships scrambled to react. But it was too late. Derek had already given the next order. Fire. The human fleet unleashed a barrage of energy blasts, their weapon systems far more advanced than the Empire had expected. The first wave of attacks hit the Empire's ships before they could even raise their shields. Explosions rippled through the enemy fleet, sending debris flying into space. The Empire's warships tried to return fire, but they were disorganized, caught off guard by the sudden attack. Derek's ships moved quickly, their small size and advanced tech allowing them to outmaneuver the larger, bulkier alien vessels. As the battle raged on, Derek felt a sense of satisfaction. This was what he had been waiting for. This was the moment he had dreamed of for years. The Empire had mocked Earth, had killed his brother, had destroyed so many lives. But now, they were paying the price. And Derek wasn't done yet. He had one final target in mind: the Emperor's flagship. The vastness of space stretched endlessly in every direction, a cold, silent void that seemed to swallow everything. Earth's fleet, hidden beneath their advanced cloaking technology, moved silently through the darkness, inching closer to the Empire's mighty warships. The tension inside each human ship was unbearable. Every crew member knew what was at stake. Their lives, their planet, their entire species rested on the success of this mission. The cloaking devices had worked perfectly so far, but they all understood the gravity of the situation. If even one ship was detected, the entire fleet would be exposed. And if that happened, the Empire's overwhelming firepower would obliterate them in an instant. Inside the lead human ship, Captain Derek stood silently on the bridge, his gaze fixed on the enemy fleet that loomed ahead. His mind was racing, but his face remained calm. The crew around him was tense, their fingers hovering over controls, waiting for the next command. The only sound inside the ship was the soft hum of the engines, barely audible in the stillness of space. Outside, the Empire's ships seemed to glow against the backdrop of stars, their massive forms casting long shadows in the void. The human ships moved like ghosts, invisible and undetected, slipping through the gaps between the Empire's patrols. Suddenly, the silence was broken by an alert. One of the crew members gasped as an alien patrol ship appeared on their sensors, heading straight toward them. The tension in the room spiked. The patrol ship was small but heavily armed, and its scanners were sweeping the area. The crew's breath caught in their throats. The patrol ship was dangerously close, too close. If its sensors detected even the faintest trace of their presence, they were done for. Captain Derek stood perfectly still, watching the patrol ship inch closer and closer on the screen. His heart pounded in his chest, but his expression remained stoic. He could hear the crew's nervous breathing, the faint beeping of the sensors, the quiet hum of the cloaking system working to keep them hidden. For a moment, it seemed like the patrol ship might detect them. The crew braced themselves, expecting alarms to go off, expecting their cover to be blown. But just as the tension reached its peak, the patrol ship veered off course, moving away from them. The crew let out a collective sigh of relief, but the tension still lingered in the air. They had come dangerously close to being discovered. Derek's voice broke the silence. "Stay sharp," he said, his tone calm but commanding. "This isn't over yet." The crew nodded, returning to their stations, their eyes glued to the monitors. The fleet continued to move forward, slowly but steadily closing the distance between themselves and the Empire's warships. Meanwhile, aboard one of the Galactic Empire's flagships, something else was happening. Deep within the ship's command center, an advanced AI monitored the situation. This AI was unlike anything the humans had ever encountered. It wasn't just a machine. It was a cold, calculating intelligence designed to oversee every aspect of the Empire's military operations. It controlled everything, from the ship's weaponry to its shields, and it did so with ruthless efficiency. The AI had no emotions, no doubts, no fears. It simply followed its programming, analyzing data, and making decisions with precision and speed. As the AI processed the sensor readings from the fleet's patrols, it noticed a small anomaly, a faint distortion in the energy readings, barely noticeable, but there nonetheless. For a brief moment, the AI paused, running a series of diagnostics to determine the cause. It considered the possibility that something was out there, something cloaked and hidden. But after several seconds, it dismissed the idea. The distortion was too minor, too inconsistent. It was most likely a malfunction in the patrol ship's sensors, an error in the readings. The AI moved on, continuing its relentless monitoring of the fleet without a second thought. Back on the human ships, the tension only grew as they neared their targets. Captain Derek could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him. He knew they were getting closer to the point of no return. Every second brought them closer to either victory or annihilation. His mind raced through the plan, checking and rechecking every detail. The timing had to be perfect. One wrong move, and they would be destroyed before they even had a chance to fight. But Derek also knew that they had one advantage the Empire didn't understand: human resilience. The Empire's eye was advanced, far more advanced than anything Earth had, but it lacked something critical. It lacked the ability to adapt, to feel, to think beyond cold logic. The humans, on the other hand, were driven by something more. They had emotion, passion, and a will to survive that machines could never understand. Derek thought back to his fallen comrades, to the millions of humans who had died at the hands of the Empire. This wasn't just a mission for him, it was personal. He wasn't just fighting for Earth, he was fighting for everyone who had ever been underestimated, for every life the Empire had destroyed. The fleet was now in position. Derek could see the Empire's warships up close on the view screen, their massive forms dominating the space around them. The Empire's ships were still in the middle of their exercise, unaware of the threat lurking just beyond their sensors. Derek's hand hovered over the controls. His crew was ready, waiting for the signal. The tension was unbearable. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, but he kept his focus. This was it, the moment they had been preparing for. But then, another alert flashed on the screen. The Empire's AI had detected something, another small anomaly, this time closer to the fleet. The AI's systems whirred to life, running diagnostics and scans at lightning speed. It hadn't fully registered the threat yet, but it was getting closer. Derek could feel the seconds slipping away. He had to act fast. The AI was getting too close to discovering them. If it did, there would be no escape. He turned to his crew, his voice steady but urgent. "Prepare to decloak," he ordered. The crew sprang into action, their fingers flying over the controls as they prepared to bring the ships out of stealth mode. They had trained for this moment, but nothing could truly prepare them for the reality of it. They knew that the moment they decloaked, the Empire would react. The enemy fleet would turn their weapons on them, and the real battle would begin. Derek watched as the countdown ticked away on the screen. 5 seconds. 4. 3. His heart raced, but his mind was clear. 2. 1. "Now," he shouted, and in an instant, the human ships decloaked, their sleek, dark forms emerging from the shadows. For a split second, there was silence. The Empire's fleet didn't react, as if they couldn't believe what they were seeing. But then, the alarms began to blare. The Empire's ships scrambled into action, their guns swiveling to face the sudden threat. But Derek was ready. "Fire," he commanded, and the human fleet unleashed a barrage of energy blasts. The weapons systems, designed specifically for this moment, tore through the Empire's ships with devastating precision. Explosions lit up the void, sending debris flying in every direction. The Empire's warships tried to return fire, but they were too slow, too disorganized. The human fleet, smaller but faster, weaved through the chaos, targeting weak points in the enemy's defenses. On board the Empire's flagship, the AI processed the attack, calculating its next move. It was efficient, cold, and relentless, but it lacked the one thing the humans had: heart. And in that moment, that was all that mattered. The battle raged on, but Derek knew one thing for sure: humanity had a fighting chance, and he wasn't about to let it slip away. As the Emperor stood in front of the Galactic Senate, his voice echoed through the vast chamber. His words were filled with arrogance and pride, mocking the very idea that anyone, especially Earth, could ever challenge the might of the Empire. His laughter rang out, and the alien dignitaries around him joined in, their smug expressions reinforcing their confidence. To them, Earth was a joke, an insignificant planet with primitive technology, incapable of posing any real threat. The Emperor's speech was being broadcasted across the galaxy, and for a brief moment, it felt like the Empire's dominance was absolute and unshakable. But then, something happened that no one could have anticipated. In the cold, dark space surrounding the Empire's capital planet, a ripple appeared. It was subtle at first, a faint shimmer against the backdrop of stars. But it grew, spreading across the sky like a wave. In an instant, hundreds of sleek, deadly human warships materialized out of thin air. The cloaking devices that had kept them hidden disengaged, and Earth's fleet revealed itself in full force. The ships were unlike anything the Empire had ever seen. Dark, streamlined vessels bristling with weapons, their hulls glinting menacingly in the starlight. The reveal was breathtaking. One moment, the sky was empty, and the next, it was filled with Earth's warships, poised and ready for battle. The human fleet moved with precision, surrounding the Empire's flagship and capital planet with terrifying speed. For the first time in a long while, the Empire's fleet found itself caught off guard. Alarms blared throughout the Empire's ships, and the once proud commanders scrambled to react. But it was too late. The humans had them exactly where they wanted them. Inside the Galactic Senate, the Emperor's laughter died in his throat. His smug expression froze as he stared at the massive display screen in front of him. The ships, Earth's ships, had appeared out of nowhere, surrounding his fleet like a pack of wolves closing in on their prey. The Senate fell into stunned silence. No one moved. No one spoke. The Emperor, who moments before had been so sure of his victory, was now speechless. On board one of Earth's lead ships, Captain Derek watched as his fleet executed their maneuver flawlessly. The Empire's forces were in complete disarray, their ships struggling to organize themselves in the face of this unexpected threat. Derek felt a surge of satisfaction. They had done it. They had caught the Empire off guard, just as planned. But there was no time to celebrate. This was only the beginning. The human ships hovered in perfect formation, their weapons trained on the Empire's fleet. Inside the Empire's flagship, chaos erupted. Officers shouted orders, their voices rising in panic. The ship's eye, which had been monitoring everything, began running calculations at lightning speed. It analyzed the situation, trying to make sense of the sudden appearance of Earth's fleet. The AI processed thousands of data points, calculating the odds, predicting outcomes, but for once, it couldn't keep up. The precision and speed of the human fleet were beyond its calculations. The Emperor, regaining some of his composure, slammed his fist on the control panel in front of him. "Destroy them," he bellowed, his voice shaking with rage. His officers scrambled to carry out his orders, but the Empire's fleet was in no position to fight. The human ships had the upper hand, and the Empire's commanders knew it. Panic spread through the ranks. The once invincible fleet, which had crushed countless enemies before, was now facing a foe they didn't understand, a foe they had underestimated. Outside, the battle began. Earth's ships unleashed a barrage of laser fire and missile strikes, targeting key points in the Empire's defenses. The Empire's warships tried to return fire, but their response was disorganized, their systems overwhelmed by the sheer speed and precision of the human attack. Explosions lit up the sky as one by one, the Empire's ships were disabled or destroyed. The human fleet moved with surgical precision, hitting their targets with deadly accuracy. The Emperor watched in horror as his fleet was torn apart before his very eyes. His heart pounded in his chest, and for the first time in his reign, he felt the cold grip of fear. This wasn't supposed to happen. Earth was supposed to be weak, insignificant. How could this be possible? How could they have developed technology so advanced, so deadly? But the Emperor's questions would go unanswered. Captain Derek had no interest in explaining humanity's rise to power. This was about survival, about revenge. For years, the Empire had terrorized Earth, raiding their colonies, killing their people, and treating them as little more than pests. But now, the tables had turned. Derek's voice echoed through the command center of his ship as he gave his next order. "Focus on the flagship," he said calmly. The human fleet shifted its attention to the Empire's largest and most heavily armored vessel, the Emperor's personal warship. The Emperor, realizing the danger he was in, ordered his ship to raise its shields and prepare for an all-out defense. But it was no use. Earth's ships had come prepared. Their weapons were designed to pierce through the strongest shields the Empire could muster. Within moments, the Emperor's flagship was under heavy fire. The shields flickered and faltered, unable to withstand the concentrated assault. The Emperor's officers shouted in panic as the ship rocked under the barrage of laser blasts and missile impacts. The AI on board the Emperor's ship continued to calculate, desperately searching for a way out. It ran scenario after scenario, analyzing every possible outcome, but none of them favored the Empire. The human fleet was too fast, too well coordinated. The AI, despite its vast intelligence, was overwhelmed by the sheer unpredictability and determination of the human attack. The Emperor's flagship was now on the brink of destruction. Fires raged throughout the ship, and systems began to fail. The Emperor, realizing that his reign was about to come to a fiery end, clenched his fists in fury. He had never imagined that Earth, a planet he had mocked and dismissed, would be the one to bring him to his knees. Back on Earth's lead ship, Derek watched as the Emperor's flagship began to break apart. The battle was almost over, but there was no joy in Derek's expression. This was war, and in war, there were no real winners, only survivors. But at least, for once, humanity had proven that they weren't to be underestimated. The final blow came swiftly. A missile from one of Earth's ships hit the Emperor's flagship directly, piercing through its hull and triggering a massive explosion. The ship was engulfed in flames, and within seconds, it disintegrated into nothing more than debris scattered across space. The silence that followed was deafening. The Empire's remaining ships, now leaderless and crippled, drifted aimlessly. The human fleet, victorious but battered, began to regroup. The battle was over, and Earth had won. But Derek knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would regroup, and the war would continue. But for now, humanity had sent a clear message to the galaxy. They were no longer the underdogs. They were a force to be reckoned with. The battle began with an intensity that could be felt across the galaxy. Earth's fleet, now fully revealed and positioned for a strike, wasted no time. The first wave of attacks was swift and devastating. From the dark void of space, energy blasts surged from the human warships, cutting through the silence and raining down on the Galactic Empire's capital planet. The Empire's defenses, once considered impenetrable, were now under siege. Key installations, shield generators, communication hubs, and weapon systems were targeted with surgical precision. Earth's fleet moved with a level of coordination and expertise that caught the Empire completely off guard. Each strike was calculated to avoid unnecessary destruction, but there was no room for hesitation. The human ships aimed for maximum impact, disabling the Empire's critical infrastructure without causing widespread civilian casualties. This wasn't just a show of force, it was a message. Humanity had come to fight, but they weren't the mindless aggressors the Empire had painted them to be. They were here to prove they could win a war on their own terms, with both precision and restraint. As the orbital bombardment continued, the Empire's forces scrambled to respond. Alien commanders barked orders through broken communication lines, trying desperately to organize a counterattack. But the chaos was overwhelming. The Empire had never faced a threat like this before, and their confidence in their technological superiority was quickly turning into fear. Alarms echoed through the capital's sprawling defenses. But it was too late. Earth's fleet had already done significant damage. On one of the Empire's largest space stations, Earth's elite soldiers had infiltrated, ready to engage the enemy in close-quarters combat. The station, a towering structure brimming with alien warriors and advanced weaponry, was the heart of the Empire's military operations in this sector. Now it was under siege from within. Earth's soldiers moved swiftly, their combat suits designed for mobility and protection in the zero-gravity environment of the station. The corridors of the space station became battlegrounds. Gunfire and energy blasts ricocheted off the walls as human soldiers clashed with alien forces. The fighting was brutal, fast, and personal. Every move mattered, and there was no room for error. The alien soldiers, though well-armed, were used to relying on their superior technology. They hadn't expected the humans to be so relentless, so determined. The humans fought with a ferocity born of desperation and courage, knowing they were outnumbered but refusing to back down. At the forefront of the battle was Captain Derek, the same officer who had led the stealth fleet into position. Now he was on the front lines, leading his soldiers into the thick of the fight. Derek moved with a purpose, his every action calculated but driven by the need to avenge those the Empire had taken from him. His brother had been one of the countless victims of the Empire's raids, and now, standing in the heart of their power, Derek was determined to end the cycle of death once and for all. In one of the station's command centers, Derek and his team faced off against the alien leadership. The battle here was more than just physical, it was a clash of ideals. The alien commanders, cold and calculating, relied on their machines and technology to fight. But Derek and his team fought with something more. They fought with heart, with the knowledge that this was not just about survival, but about proving that humanity was worth fighting for. The combat was intense. Derek's team faced wave after wave of alien soldiers, but they held their ground. The corridors echoed with the sound of gunfire, the clash of metal, and the cries of fallen enemies. Derek's tactical brilliance shone through as he led his team deeper into the station, taking down key targets with precision. They were outnumbered, but their determination never wavered. Meanwhile, on the Empire's flagship, the AI that had overseen all military operations for years was running countless calculations, trying to predict the outcome of the battle. It couldn't comprehend how the humans had managed to gain the upper hand. For years, the Empire had relied on its technology, its cold, calculated machines, to maintain control over the galaxy. But now, that very reliance was proving to be its downfall. The AI had anticipated every possible move based on logic and data, but it hadn't accounted for the unpredictable nature of human ingenuity and emotion. As Derek's team pushed forward, a plan began to form. They needed to take down the AI. The Empire's over-reliance on it had left them vulnerable, and Derek knew that if they could destroy it, the Empire's forces would collapse into chaos. The AI, while powerful, was still a machine. It lacked the one thing humans had in abundance: creativity. In a daring assault, Derek led his team toward the AI's central hub on the space station. The journey was perilous, with alien reinforcements arriving at every turn. But Derek pressed on, knowing that the fate of the battle, and perhaps the fate of humanity, depended on their success. When they finally reached the AI's core, The room was filled with a sterile mechanical coldness. The AI's presence was palpable, its voice emotionless, as it attempted to reason with Derek. It offered him surrender, claiming that resistance was illogical. But Derek didn't listen. He knew that this was more than just a battle between machines and men. This was a fight for the soul of humanity, for the right to control their own destiny. With a final command, Derek initiated the attack on the AI's core. Explosions rocked the room as the AI's systems overloaded, sparks flying as the machine's last calculations failed. The AI tried to fight back, but it was no match for the human tactic, an unpredictable last-minute maneuver that no algorithm could have predicted. With the AI destroyed, the Empire's forces fell into disarray. Their ships, now without centralized command, began to falter. Earth's fleet, seeing the opportunity, pressed their advantage. In a series of decisive strikes, they dismantled the remaining defenses, securing a hard-fought victory. The Empire's warships, once symbols of their unstoppable power, now drifted aimlessly in space, their systems failing without the AI to guide them. The Empire's commanders, once so sure of their superiority, were left in shock. The battle was over, and humanity had won. For Derek and his team, the victory was bittersweet. They had lost comrades along the way, and the cost of the battle weighed heavily on them. But they had done what they set out to do. They had taken on the might of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious, not through superior technology, but through sheer willpower, creativity, and human spirit. As Earth's fleet regrouped, Derek looked out at the stars, his heart heavy but filled with hope. This was the beginning of a new era for humanity. They had proven that they could stand up to the most powerful force in the galaxy, and they had done it on their own terms. The Empire, once thought to be invincible, had been brought to its knees by the very people it had underestimated. And now, the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. As the battle came to an end, the human captain stood on the bridge of his ship, surrounded by the aftermath of war. The once mighty Galactic Empire's fleet was now reduced to ruins, its warships floating aimlessly in the dark void of space. The captain, though victorious, felt a weight pressing down on him. The victory had come at a great cost, and now, in the stillness that followed the battle, he allowed himself a moment to reflect. He thought about his brother, who had been one of the first to fall in the war against the Empire. The memory of his face flashed before the captain's eyes, and for a moment, the pride of victory was dulled by the ache of loss. So many good people had died to reach this moment. Soldiers, friends, comrades who had fought by his side, now gone. The galaxy might see this as a triumph, but for those who had been in the thick of the fight, it was bittersweet. The captain knew that while they had won the battle, it didn't erase the pain of those they had lost along the way. The bridge was quiet now, the tension of battle replaced by the somber realization of what had been sacrificed. The captain's crew, though celebrating their success, carried the same weight. They had fought with everything they had, and while they had come out on top, the toll was visible in their eyes. Each of them had lost someone in this war, brothers, sisters, friends, and now, as the dust settled, they all felt the same mix of pride and grief. But even in this moment of reflection, the captain knew that something larger had been achieved. Humanity had risen from the shadows, from being dismissed as weak and insignificant, to standing shoulder to shoulder with the galaxy's greatest powers. The Galactic Empire had mocked Earth, had called them primitive and small, but now the universe had seen what humans were truly capable of. They had not just survived, they had conquered. The captain allowed himself a small smile as he thought of how the rest of the galaxy would react to this. For too long, humanity had been the underdog, the species that others looked down upon. But now, the galaxy had no choice but to acknowledge their strength, the human spirit, their resilience, and their refusal to be broken had won the day. Earth was no longer just a backwater planet on the fringes of the galaxy. It was now a force to be reckoned with. As he looked out at the wreckage of the Empire's fleet, the captain felt a sense of empowerment wash over him. This was what they had fought for. Not just for revenge, not just for survival, but to prove that humans were not weak, that they had the power to stand tall in a galaxy full of giants. The Empire had underestimated them, and now they had paid the price. But just as the captain began to allow himself a moment of peace, a light blinked on the communication console. A new signal was coming through, one that wasn't from any of the surviving ships in Earth's fleet. The captain's brow furrowed as he gave the order to patch it through. A voice crackled over the intercom, the familiar tone of another human commander. "Captain, this is Commander Hayes of the Vanguard. We've been monitoring the situation from the outer perimeter." The captain's eyes widened in surprise. The Vanguard was one of Earth's most powerful warships, but it hadn't been part of the fleet that had engaged the Empire. "Outer perimeter," the captain repeated, confused. "What are you doing all the way out there?" There was a pause before Commander Hayes responded. "Captain, the fleet you brought into the battle was only the Vanguard. We've been holding back the rest of our forces, waiting to see how the situation would unfold. The fleet that the Empire saw today, it was only a fraction of our true strength." The captain's heart skipped a beat. Only a fraction. He had known that Earth had been building up its military capabilities in secret, but even he hadn't realized the full extent of it. The fleet that had decimated the Empire was already formidable, but now he was being told that there was even more. Far more. "Commander, are you telling me that the real fleet is still out there, hidden?" the captain asked, his voice low with astonishment. "That's correct," Hayes replied. "We've been lying in wait, even farther out. If the Empire had managed to turn the tide, we would have been ready to step in. But it seems you handled things just fine without us." The captain was stunned. He had thought that this battle represented the full might of Earth's forces, but now he realized that humanity's true power was still hidden, cloaked from the galaxy's view. The Empire, and indeed the entire galaxy, had just witnessed what they believed to be Earth's greatest strength, but they hadn't even seen the full picture. A sense of awe filled the captain as the magnitude of what this meant sank in. The Galactic Empire had been brought to its knees by a fraction of Earth's fleet, and now the galaxy would be left wondering, just how powerful was Earth, really? If what they had seen was only a small part of humanity's capabilities, what else was lying in wait? How much more strength did Earth possess? The captain's mind raced with possibilities. The galaxy had underestimated humanity before, but now they would be left in fear, unsure of what to expect next. Earth's true power remained a mystery, and that mystery was perhaps their greatest weapon. As the captain stood on the bridge, staring out into the vastness of space, he felt a renewed sense of purpose. This battle was over, but the war for humanity's place in the galaxy had only just begun. They had proven they could fight. They had shown their resilience, but now they had to navigate the galaxy's politics, alliances, and rivalries. The galaxy would not easily forget what had happened here. The Empire's defeat would ripple through the stars, and other powers would take notice. Some would seek alliances with Earth, eager to align themselves with a rising force. Others would view humanity as a threat, planning their next moves in secret. But for now, the captain was content with what they had achieved. Earth had risen from the ashes of their underdog status, and they had shown the galaxy that they were a force to be reckoned with. And while the rest of the galaxy wondered about humanity's true strength, the captain knew one thing for certain: Earth's future had never been brighter. As the communication line went silent, the captain turned to his crew, his voice steady and filled with quiet pride. "We've won today," he said, "but remember, this is just the beginning." The crew nodded, their faces reflecting the same mix of exhaustion and triumph. They had fought hard, they had lost much, but they had emerged victorious. And now, they carried with them the knowledge that Earth's strength was far greater than anyone had imagined. The galaxy had witnessed Earth's rise, but it had yet to see their full potential. And that, the captain knew, was a secret worth keeping, for now.